Welcome back. In last week's video, we gave you our top 10 tips and tricks. This week, we're going to bring you our top 10 Disney cruise mistakes to avoid.
From thinking that Disney cruises are just for kids to missing out on must-do experiences, we've got you covered so you can set sail stress-free and make the most of your cruise.
Let's dive in. Hi! Welcome back.
And thank you for continuing to pardon our pixie dust.
Yeah.
You may not be able to tell, but we are making improvements.
Yeah, we got a new light, so maybe next time we'll have some new paint. But let's dive right in.
Yeah.
All right, mistake number 1.
Yeah.
Thinking that Disney cruises are just for families.
Yes. Which is honestly one of the biggest things that we hear when we talk to other adults who don't have kids or won't be traveling with kids is, what do we do?
Yeah.
And I think the reality is there's a ton of adult-only spaces, both on the ship and off, and experiences.
Yeah. There's lots of adult-only areas. You have on Castaway Cay, there's Serenity Bay.
Yeah.
Lookout Point, the new island, it has its own adult area. And then on the ships, there's plenty of adult dining options and great lounges.
Yeah.
Adult-only shows.
There's the spa, which is adult-only.
The Senses Spa.
Yeah.
So there's lots of great options if you're sailing without kids and you want to have that Disney Cruise Line experience. And it's always actually kind of funny that people assume that there wouldn't be family stuff, because even the parks, you go to the parks, right, as a couple without kids, and you don't necessarily think that. The cruise line's the same way. Just like how you can go to the Disney parks and have fun and experience it without kids, it's the same on Disney Cruise Line.
And all the ships have an area of the ship that's adults only as well, that usually has some kind of pool, some sun deck, a little bit of a sun deck, some chairs. Yeah.
And we will say, there's some ships that are better, those spaces are better than others. We'll probably make a video on that at some point. But just know that they exist on every single Disney cruise ship.
Yeah. So there's lots to do if you're an adult.
Yeah. So book that cruise.
Yeah. Mistake number two is all about travel and your flights and planning your flights wisely.
Yeah. So if you're like us and you actually have to fly to do your cruise and you're not locally in Florida, we definitely recommend flying in at least 24 hours before your cruise embarks. And the reason for this is if you are flying in the same day, the amount of stress you're going to feel if there's even the slightest of changes in your flights, or let's say you miss you can't get an Uber to the cruise terminal from the airport, or you're doing Disney transportation and something happens, you want to give yourself that extra time to be able to make sure that you make it to the cruise.
Yeah, and even on the flight home, Disney technically recommends nothing earlier than 11:30.
Yeah.
But even that is kind of pushing it.
A little close.
You just never know. Most of the time going through customs after debarking is fairly quick. Getting to the airport can be touch and go depending on traffic, getting through TSA and security.
And that goes for even if you are traveling with Disney transportation. So even if you were taking Disney transportation and you got off the ship early, that does not mean that you are going to get to the airport by 11:30. There's a lot of traffic. If you're flying out of, like, say, MCO, there is a lot of traffic between Port Canaveral and Orlando. It took us almost an hour and 20 minutes to get back to Orlando.
And that was once we left. Usually from the time we get to the buses and when we're at the terminal is usually like 2 hours.
Close to 2 hours,
because we end up waiting on the bus for them to fill it up.
Yeah.
And then you go and there's traffic and then navigating all the terminals, and they sometimes make different terminal stops. So
you can hear the stress. So just plan for that. Don't put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
Make sure you have a later flight when you're leaving and coming in early when you're departing. Yeah. So, all right, mistake to avoid number 3. So booking a shorter cruise, but expecting to be able to do everything on that cruise. It's just not realistic.
Yeah, I think this one is all about kind of your expectations. Is a 3 and 4 night we totally get is much more manageable and financially possible.
Yeah, if that's what you can do, book it. But just know that you're probably not going to be able to do everything that the ship offers in 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
On any of the ships. Doesn't matter if it's Wish class, all the way down to the Magic and Wonder.
So if you can do a longer cruise, we loved our 7-night, and we're really excited to do another 7-night in June.
But we know that they're super expensive.
Yes. So if a 3 and 4 night is all you can do, that's great. Just manage your expectations.
Do that, save up, and then do another one. And then you have 6 nights.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, number 4.
Mistake number 4 is not downloading the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app before the cruise. They kind of hammer it into you to download it and
there's
remind
a reason
you
for that.
at every turn. There's a reason. It's because it's going to be your best friend when you're on the ship.
You can find everything from like the daily schedule of what's going on around the ship to characters that are going to be out meet and greeting, even the costumes that they're in. And then another cool feature that's actually in the app is a messaging feature. So if you didn't get the cruise Wi-Fi package, you don't have any way to communicate with your family unless you have that app, because that app will allow you to be able to text them and basically communicate where you're at on the ship.
Yeah, it also has the like dining menus, or even all of the menus it has available. So if you're wanting to check out a lounge, or you want to see what's for dinner that night, you can go on and look at that ahead of time.
Or the hours of what time the lounges are open.
Yes, the hours of everything.
Very, very, very important and useful. So don't wait on downloading it. Download it well before your cruise.
Yeah.
Tip number 5. This is a big one, an important one.
Yes.
Not checking your documentation.
Yeah, so I would say like 2 months before your cruise, look at all of your documentation, look at passports, make sure those aren't expired, double check birth certificates for kids, make sure you have those, you know where they are.
Yeah.
And just what itineraries, what it requires, because different itineraries require you to have different documentation. So just give yourself plenty of time to double check, make sure you have everything up to date.
Yeah, I know a common one that people forget about is if your little one is traveling, let's say you're traveling with grandparents, if they're going off the ship with grandma and grandpa, even though they know them, you actually have to fill a form out as a parent to let them know that this kid's okay to go with you.
Yeah, if they're in a different stateroom.
Yeah, so make sure that you have all that documentation, because it can really foul up your plans once you're on the ship.
Yeah.
All right, we're halfway there.
Woo.
If you're liking this video so far, please give it a thumbs up and give it a like. That really helps the algorithm find this video. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe right now. Hit that bell notification. That will let you know whenever we put out new videos. And I think with that, let's get into number 6.
Woo.
All right, number 6 is a big one. This kind of ties into the previous one, but not having your port arrival form ready and not having your online check-in ready to go.
Yeah, so if you don't complete that online check-in beforehand, it just makes it a much longer process to get on the ship. Same thing if you don't have your port arrival form with you. It just takes a lot longer at the beginning of your cruise.
Stand in a line.
Yeah, and that's not the way you want to start your vacation.
No.
So do your check-in ahead of time, get your port arrival form. You can do it you can print it out, you can save it to your Apple Wallet if you're an Apple user, or just save it to your phone, and they'll scan it. And
you only have to have it on one person in your party's phone. So you don't have to have it across the board. Usually Michelle does it for us. So,
so make sure to have all that ready to go.
Number 7. Travel insurance. Skipping travel insurance, to be specific.
Yes, and for some people, we might say a mistake to avoid is to use Disney travel insurance too. Hot take.
Yeah.
If you are like us and there are many pieces to your vacation than just that cruise, we highly recommend getting separate travel insurance. Disney insurance only covers the cruise.
Yeah.
And for us, we have flights, we have hotels, we have the cruise itself. And so we just want to be a little more covered in case something happens, we have to cancel, in case there's a medical emergency that is in an international place, in case we lose luggage. We just want a little more coverage than just the cruise. So we definitely highly recommend getting your own travel insurance than just Disney.
Yeah, and you can shop around. There's a lot of great companies out there that we've found, and a lot of varying in coverage costs too.
Yeah,
so.
and you always are like, oh, I've never had to use it before. I don't want to spend the money until you need to use it. And then you'll spend much more than you would have if you got insurance. So better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Mistake number 8.
Number 8
is not pre-booking your activities and events.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things that require you to pre-book. So you really got to pay attention to when is the starting date of when you can start making reservations.
Yeah, and that is related to your Castaway Club status.
Yeah.
And we actually wrote it down, so I'm going to reference the notes so I don't get this wrong. So your Castaway Club status, if you don't know, is related to how many times you have cruised with Disney Cruise Line.
Yes.
So if you're a first-time cruiser, you can't book anything until 75 days out from your departure date. If you are a silver cruiser, 90 days out. Gold is 105. Platinum and Pearl are 120 days out. So it's really important to make sure you keep an eye on how many days out you are for the cruise to be able to book those things.
And they will update you in the app. They will show you, like, you can start booking things starting this day.
Yeah. So for ours, we actually have an upcoming cruise, and it will be on March 9th.
So we have a few days.
we're watching that calendar like a hawk.
Yeah, so some of the things that go really quick that are the most popular are like Paulo and Remy, Enchante, those specialty dining that are more fine dining places.
Yeah.
Cabanas
is a really big one. Yeah.
Yes, that one goes really quick.
Yeah.
And then things like the Royal Gathering, anything with kids, those really high-end kids activity, that's where like they meet all of the princesses. There's like 4 of them that they meet in the Grand Hall. Those always go really quick. So if anything like that sounds like something that you and your family would be interested in, definitely pay attention to that date.
Yeah, and bonus tip, if you aren't able to book something you were really looking forward to, example, Royal Gathering, we in our last video referenced that you want to make sure that you join that Facebook group. And when they go up if somebody is canceling their reservations, a lot of times somebody will put it in the Facebook group. So let's say you're a first-time cruiser and you weren't able to book it, you might actually still be able to book it if you were paying attention to your Facebook group.
That exact time that they
but you want to keep an eye on it. So.
Yes. And always check in once you get on the ship, because sometimes they keep a couple of reservations just in case. So always check in when you get with guest services when you get on.
Yeah. All right, so number 9 is packing essentials into your checked bag the day of your cruise.
Yes, yeah. So it's a range of when you get your luggage delivered to your room. So it could be delivered at 3. Usually we get ours around like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But we also haven't got one until like 10 o'clock sometimes. So make sure that with you have any medication that you need. If you want to have a phone charger with you. Your passport, anything that you need to get onto the ship, because you don't want your luggage to get on and you to not.
Heard many stories of that happening.
So make sure any documentation that you need to get onto the ship, you have it with you.
Yeah.
And then if you want to have a change of clothes with you for dinner, so that you have that.
Yeah, or kids' swimsuits if they want to go swimming, that's a big one too.
Yeah, so make sure that anything that you need for that entire day, you have it with you.
All right, number 10.
Woo! We did it, we made it.
Yeah.
Mistake number 10 is not budgeting for any onboard expenses.
Yeah, and that could be anything from buying a specialty alcoholic drink at one of the lounges, specialty coffees. Unfortunately, there is coffee available for free on the ship.
Very good.
But the specialty coffees at, say, the Cove Bar is not included, unfortunately.
Yeah. And those are way better.
Yeah.
Also, like excursions that you want to do, those tips for those excursions, any spa treatments that you want to do, even room service. While room service is free to deliver it, you typically tip the person who brings it to you.
Yeah. Another big one that people might not realize is those photo packages that they have on board that everyone knows and loves. Those aren't actually purchased until you're on the ship as well.
Yeah. Any merch.
Yeah. Anything.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Souvenirs kind of ties into that too.
Wi-Fi packages.
Ooh, the Wi-Fi package is a big one.
That's always one, even though we do it every time, that's always one that we're like, oh man, we forgot about that one.
Yeah, and make sure you kind of get an idea of what it's going to be related to the length of your cruise with the Wi-Fi package, because it does vary depending on how long the cruise is. So it could be like $100 for 3 days and like up to $300 for maybe a 7-night or more.
Yeah. And we're going to be doing a video later on talking about all those hidden costs. Yeah. So we would say just do your research ahead of time. Watch a couple of those videos that are the hidden costs, just to kind of see, a little bit more of what to expect.
Yeah. And it kind of ties back into what we addressed earlier and even in our previous video of knowing what you want from your cruise, because that will really come into play with this step to avoid. Yeah. All right, so that is our top things to avoid on a Disney cruise, based both on experience and things that we've heard from other folks. If there's something that you would add to that list, make sure you comment below and let us know what those are so it would help other folks out.
Yeah, and if you want a little bit more information about what to do, you can go back to our last video that is titled Our Top 10 Tips and Tricks of Cruising with Disney. And our next video is actually going to touch more on that number 10 mistake. What are the hidden costs of Disney? Yeah. We'll go a little bit more in depth about some of those things that sneak up on you so that you're not surprised when you're planning your trip.
Yeah, and then after that, this is the one everyone's been waiting for. We're going to be releasing our Concierge Cruise series.
Guys, it's so good. Oh, I cannot wait. I started editing it, and I cannot wait to share it with you.
Yeah, and we know we've been teasing it, so thank you for waiting this out. But Michelle has been working on it really hard, and we can't wait to share it with you guys.
So you have like 2 more weeks of waiting, and then it'll be there for you.
Yeah, but thank you for being patient with us.
If you want to see that, like this, subscribe, hit that bell, so then you can see all these videos.
Yeah, so you don't miss it.
Yeah.
But I think with that, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.